Great.
Okay, without no more chit chat, I'll start the clock. You're up.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Colson and distinguished governors. How y'all doing?
Great.
Good, good. It's always a challenge to follow my distinguished colleague, President Delaney, but I think when you hear about our story, you will see similarities between Florida Gulf Coast University and University of North Florida, and it's always good to hear President Delaney talk about his successes for the length of time that that institution has existed. They've done exceptionally well. I want to first thank you for the opportunity to present Florida Gulf Coast 2012-2013 work plan. I'm grateful for the time to engage in a conversation about FGCU's past, present, and future, and its role within the state university system. I would like to briefly introduce my fellow presenters to you. The Associate Provost for Academic Affairs, Dr. Paul Snyder. Dr. Snyder is here in place of Dr. Toll, our Provost. He had a death in the family and couldn't be with us today. And the Vice Chair of the FGCU Board of Trustees, Robbie Repsdorf. Also representing FGCU today is another trustee, Peter Cutterman. Mr. Cutterman is the President of Student Government Association and a member of the Board of Trustees. Steve Magara, Vice President for Administrative Services and Finance, J. Michael Rollo, Vice President for Student Affairs, and Rosemary Thomas, Vice President for Advancement and our newest Vice President at FGCU. I know the time allotted is limited. We find the buzzer a bit annoying, so we're going to try to get done before that. So I will defer to Vice Chair Repsdorf, who will provide you with some context for our discussion. Trustee Repsdorf.
Thank you very much. Well, it is my pleasure to be here today on behalf of all the trustees of Florida Gulf Coast University. So thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. FGCU actually serves the 1 million plus population of Southwest Florida and increasingly draws students from across South Florida and beyond. FGCU's target market is principally traditional age students, and FGCU's place in the market is an affordable and an accessible comprehensive university. Our focus is quality undergraduate and graduate programming with an occupational emphasis, and our vision is to achieve national prominence in undergraduate education and increasing visibility for the graduate programs. Now, you may ask, is this not a little too ambitious for you guys? Well, our answer would be, with us only being 15 years old, is just look at the facts of where we are today. I think they actually speak for themselves. It takes years to create a reputation and an identity, but FGCU has taken the steps necessary to accelerate that process with high quality at the center of absolutely everything that we do. How do we know we're succeeding? Our students, they come not just from Southwest Florida, but from nearly every state in the Union. And they also come from 80 countries around the world. This past year, U.S. News ranked our undergraduate program among the top 40 public regional universities in the South. Now, while we recognize this is a modest distinction when compared to our mature institutions like UF or FSU, it is remarkable for an institution of our youth. Additionally, when we look at our post-graduation employment within the state of Florida, our undergraduates, for years now, have ranked consistently among the top 3 SUS institutions for post-grad employment. So what are some of the undergrad programs that have achieved a national level of national prominence at FGCU? Well, as you may have recalled that we mentioned in our annual report that our student teacher program for elementary education, it was considered a model by the National Council on Teacher Quality. Also, our recently ABET accredited engineering programs In bio, civil, and environmental engineering, we're ranked among the top 200 undergraduate engineering-only programs by U.S. News. This for an undergraduate engineering program that did not even exist in 2005. Well, our undergraduate business program also appeared in the U.S. News rankings this past year. Now, these programs that have earned recognition have a couple of things in common. It's full-time faculty. They provide the majority of instruction, and our programs are occupationally focused. At the graduate level, we notice similar program characteristics. Our AACSB accredited business program has been ranked by Princeton Review among the top 300 in the U.S. U.S. News has ranked our nurse anesthesiology, nursing, and occupational therapy programs among the best in the country as well. Again, these rankings do not compare to older, well-established universities in the state, but they nevertheless show that we are right on track in terms of recognition and quality. More importantly, in terms of quality, our most recent post-graduation employment data from the Florida Education and Training Placement Information Program placed FGCU #1 within the SUS for master's recipients. So with that as a context for Florida Gulf Coast University, I would like to turn to President Wilson Bradshaw to discuss our core capabilities that have made all of our tremendous success to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Repsdorf. Probably most important is our focus on student success. We provide a supportive environment that contributes to the personal growth and development of our students, including supplemental instruction, tutoring services, peer advising, and career planning services. We require students to engage in community service, offer them leadership opportunities through a complete array of student organizations, and we challenge them in the classroom. Many of our programs include internship experiences to expose students to the work world and to give them opportunities to forge ties that can assist them in post-graduation employment. We gauge our success both in terms of inputs, such as the percentage of our courses taught by full-time faculty, and outputs, such as the percentage of students employed in Florida after graduation. And of course, we survey our students to determine how satisfied they are with their educational experiences at Florida Gulf Coast University. Sustainable growth has characterized FGCU's development. By that, we mean the university's growth has been a careful balance of adequate revenue, facilities, student population, and full-time faculty and staff to ensure quality in the educational experience. We closely monitor average section size, student-faculty ratios, the percentage of courses taught by full-time faculty, and accreditation standards to ensure our growth is manageable. At the same time, we place a premium on efficiency. We have achieved enormous efficiencies of scale over the last decade as a startup university, and now rank second lowest in the SUS for cost per student credit hour. Our graduation rates have increased dramatically over this period of time as well, although clearly we realize we have further to go. And the level of excess credit hours generated by our students is among the lowest 3 in the state university system. We realized over $425,000 in energy savings this year through conservation, and we generate roughly 20% of our energy through our on-campus solar plant, which is the largest solar plant on any campus in Florida. As an institution only 15 years old, we have the room for further growth. Our campus is slightly over half built out and could absorb about another 9,000 students if necessary facilities are funded. Approximately 90 buildings, including student housing, have been constructed in the last 15 years, and they are of excellent quality. Many are state-of-the-art and are built to LEED, that is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design standards. We rely heavily on technology, including a robust computer network, strong wireless connectivity, and an excellent learning management system. Community engagement has fostered a strong supportive environment within the region, FGCU has received much recognition for its involvement with our students, faculty, and staff serving over 250 organizations in Southwest Florida. As a result, our strong partnerships have supported a tremendous outpouring of generosity for an institution with a very limited and a young alumni base. It occurred to me in a conversation I was having last week that being only 15 years old, a large majority of our graduates are not 40 years old yet. Funding is our major challenge. Not only has FGCU sustained 5 consecutive years of cuts to our state-appropriated base budget, we also remain significantly underfunded per FTE student when compared to the SUS institutions. We did not reach this situation through lack of enrollment planning, but rather arrived at this point when enrollment growth funding was frozen a number of years ago. Despite these challenges, FGCU has continued to increase enrollment in order to meet the state's mandate for access to higher education in Southwest Florida, one of the last regions to have a state-supported comprehensive regional university. In so doing, we've been able to mitigate many of the negative impacts of the decline in general revenue, and we have been able to ensure the university could continue to meet its financial obligations with a balanced budget each year. FGCU lack of parity in terms of funding per FTE is a result of this set of circumstances and the fact that FGCU missed many of the years of enriched FTE funding that benefited the other system universities. Consequently, we operate very efficiently, and we do not have reserve funding beyond the legal minimum to draw upon. Failure to increase our tuition rate will result in negative impacts to our students through larger class sizes, fewer course selections, and declining access, all of which would contribute to a decline in student success. Space is another limiting factor. While our campus still has room for expansion, the loss of PICO funding is challenging our ability to grow. While we have one of the highest classroom utilization rates within the SUS, we will continue to maximize use of our existing facilities. So what are our 3 top initiatives for moving FGCU forward in its service to the people of Florida? As you will see, they match the 3 areas of Board of Governors' focus: academic quality, return on investment, and operational efficiency. Number 1, we will continue to balance growth with quality. FGCU is still growing and, as I previously mentioned, has the capacity for further growth. Our enrollment growth will provide the revenue to expand the breadth and depth of our curriculum and co-curriculum. As our enrollment grows, we will add additional faculty and academic support staff. We will measure our quality by achieving additional professional accreditations, further improve our graduation rates, and improve first-time occupational licensing rates, particularly in the health professions. 2, we will continue to increase overall degree production commensurate with growth and especially in the BOG-defined areas of strategic interest. As you can see, we have already done a good job with this, and it is completely within keeping with our occupational focus. An acquired professional proficiency based on a solid liberal arts foundation is still key to our institution's success. 3, operational efficiency. We will be very parsimonious in our use of taxpayer dollars. We will continue to achieve further economies of scale, shorten time to degree, and realize additional dollar savings through our energy conservation program. Now, Mr. Chair and Governors, let me turn to my colleague, Associate Provost for Academic Affairs, Dr. Paul Snyder, who will speak to you about our soon-to-be completed academic realignment.
Thank you, President Bradshaw. At FGCU, we have engaged with our faculty in realignments designed to achieve synergies that position FGCU for future growth. This has included a phase-out of the College of Professional Studies effective July 1st, with programs transferring to existing colleges. Justice Studies and Public Affairs will move to the College of Arts and Sciences, Resort and Hospitality Management to the College of Business, and Social Work to the College of Health Professions. We have also suspended our Spanish major, which has few students, so faculty can teach more lower division courses that students need for graduation. Let me now turn to how we gauge the success of our academic enterprise at FGCU. With regard to page 7, the section labeled Academic Quality, really there are too few indicators here to get a true sense of academic quality. The ones shown reflect inputs, that is, SAT scores and high school GPA, and a very restricted output measure, health professions licensure. With respect to the inputs at FGCU, we have an obligation to balance admissions test scores and high school GPA with the provision of access to an SUS education. We are doing this for a region of Florida historically underserved by a comprehensive regional university. We are a young institution, and it is worth noting that our quality can be better measured in terms of the number of specialized program accreditations we have earned in just 15 years of operation, the post-graduation success of our students, and the overall success of our students on licensing exams in the health professions that are measured not just in terms of first-time pass rates, but cumulative pass rates that tend to run between 90 to 100%. Let me comment briefly on the measures relating to operational efficiency on page 7 of the work plan. I would like to point out that without context, these very simple indicators easily can be misinterpreted. For example, while our first-year retention rate seems flat, our overall graduation rates have clearly increased quite positively over the years, as Vice Chair Repsdorf shared with you. If we consider the FGCU students who transfer to and complete their studies at another SUS institution, our current rates are pretty much on the national average. This pattern at an institution the age of FGCU is not unusual. The key here is we are aware these rates can improve further, and we will continue to focus on this key indicator. Also, let's consider the indicators under the section on page 7 labeled Return on Investment. Here is where we especially shine. Our increases in degree production are impressive, particularly in STEM. But again, some of the trend data require context. The percentage of graduates working in Florida shows a drop of 9 percentage points during the last 5 years. But the reality is that this loss is due to the recession. FGCU continues to exhibit one of the highest post-graduation employment rates in the SUS. Likewise, our received annual gifts show a decline, but our endowment shows a gain. How do we reconcile such inconsistencies? Simple. The base year of the trend here represents a record annual fundraising year that was followed by the worst recession in 80 years. Our annual giving is recovering nicely, but you wouldn't know it from these data alone. In this regard, I want to explain the difference in our fundraising success this year and our goals for the next few years. FGCU had an exceptional year in 2011-2012, receiving several major gifts totaling nearly $20 million, but our goal was $12 million. While we set goals that are reasonable and obtainable, with the right conditions, we hope to surpass them by a wide margin as we did this year. Of course, the loss of state matching funds has made this more difficult. Because of our youth, our alumni base is small and will take time to mature. Our endowment has been more resilient and started from a smaller base. Let me briefly turn to our enrollment plan on pages 16 and 17. Our enrollment plan calls for growth of approximately 1,000 students each for the next few years. This will slow our rate of growth as compared to previous years of double-digit enrollment growth. The focus will continue to be on traditional age undergraduates. Distance learning will continue as part of our educational delivery mix and will be used to help sustain our growth in the absence of near-term replacement of PICO funds. We also will seek to serve more non-traditional students through distance learning degree completion and market rate tuition programs. Finally, on page 18, I want to address our plans for new academic programs over the next few years, recognizing that we will only proceed when we have the necessary resources to implement high-quality offerings. I want to point out that 5 of the 7 programs being considered are in STEM areas, 1 in a strategic area of emphasis, and 1 in an area still critical to the region's economy, real estate development. With regard to the proposed Doctor of Nursing practice, this is a move being driven by the nursing profession and by regional demands for more highly skilled nurses. The proposed DNP will not be a new program, but rather the transformation of an existing master's program, similar to what has occurred recently with the Doctor of Physical Therapy. Let me now turn the presentation back to President Bradshaw, who will provide the details of our tuition differential request and our CITF plans.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, Governors, I ask for your patience. I will get through this as quickly as possible, but this is an important wrap-up for us. The Florida Legislature enacted budget reductions that were predicated upon existing fund balances and tuition increases. This was intended to mitigate some, but not all, the negative consequences of the cuts. FGCU projects to have the lowest fund balance reserve as a percentage of the budget of all 11 institutions as of June 30th, 2012. These projections were provided by each of the universities this past winter. FGCU's request of a 15% tuition differential is to allow the campus to meet its mission and manage a 5th year of reduction in state support. Without the full tuition amount, FGCU will be forced to make operating reductions of nearly $330,000 for each percentage point below the 14% that was recently approved by our Board of Trustees. This would be in addition to the loss of $3 million in general revenue appropriated by the legislature. In the context of the reserves of some of the other universities, this may seem trivial, but I can assure you, within the frugal context of FGCU, where we have no margin of error and where we have already demonstrated tremendous efficiencies and economies of scale, we will have little choice but to take actions that will have dire consequences for FGCU and Southwest Florida. Instead, with a 14% tuition increase, we will continue to be in a position to further improve our graduation and retention rates. We will be able to hire more academic support staff and faculty, allowing us to offer classes of an appropriate size that foster faculty-student interaction. We will be able to offer courses more frequently to accommodate the needs of students to complete degree requirements expeditiously. We will be able to hire more advisors so that students can be kept on course to minimize the incidence and expense of excess credit hours. We will be able to provide more depth and breadth to the courses of study that lead to degrees in STEM and areas of strategic emphasis, and we will be able to enhance academic support critical to sound student success. Our academic reputation will continue to improve, and our quality measured by professional accreditation will be enhanced. The FGCU Board of Trustees recognizes this and has asked that you honor its request for the 14% increase in tuition. Finally, we are seeking a $2 increase per credit hour to fund the construction of a wellness fitness facility. The current facility of 7,000 square feet was constructed nearly a decade ago to accommodate a student body less than half the size of our projected enrollment this fall of 13,600. With an enrollment now more than double that of a decade ago, a residential community 3 times greater, we have about 4,200 students living in university housing, and a student body that is still growing, the need for a new facility is obvious. This fee increase is strongly supported by the FGCU student government and is an essential part of our student life program. An analysis of our total wellness fitness space in comparison to national standards shows the inadequacy of our existing space. Within the SUS, we are the only institution where our center is shared among students and FGCU's Division I athletics program. As you can see, we are well below national standards among universities in three main categories of wellness, fitness, center space. The planned $15 million, 40,000 square foot facility will correct the current inadequacies and address enrollment growth on campus. Mr. Chair, members of the board, this concludes our presentation, and of course we would be happy to respond to any questions and listen to any concerns you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
John.
Where are you?
You have a new bachelor's degree in Earth and Space Science, and I guess none of the other universities have that. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Paul?
Proposed?
That's a program that builds upon our strengths in environmental areas. Particularly, we have civil engineering, we have environmental engineering, and then we have strengths in chemistry and life sciences. This program, it would be modeled upon similar programs that exist at, for example, the University of Washington. And it has the potential to appeal to students who either want to use this as K through 12 science education teachers or wish to pursue graduate studies in one of the fields in environmental geology.
So it's in the School of Engineering, is that right? Or?
This program is actually in our College of Arts and Sciences, but it works very cooperatively with our College of Engineering.
The curriculum is truly interdisciplinary across arts and sciences and engineering.
Governor Temple, do you think we need more real estate professionals?
Well, I was just going to say the thing we need less of those. We need more new law graduates and real estate professionals, but you're serving an area need, right?
Absolutely, sir.
And there's other programs, but
the focus
right.
of that
I agree,
particular
John.
program is more on the development aspects of real estate, which is still a major interest in Southwest Florida.
And through the generosity of a donor, we've been able to create an endowed chair in real estate in the College of Business.
There's the answer. That's the answer.
I would also add to that this conversation, there's 8 existing biology programs. You're proposing another master's in biology. That'll be the 9th. I'm assuming when we start looking into that, you're going to have plenty of backup that is needed.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, John.
I have my normal questions, but they've now anticipated them in their presentations, so they answer them so I don't get to ask them on their graduation.
You want to have them say it again?
No, I don't.
Okay. Dick?
Just a couple of things. I was trying to figure out why you got to 14% instead of 15. And
Governor, there was a lot of discussion at yesterday's Board of Trustee meeting. I've developed a proposal and a budget that was built on a 15% increase in tuition. Could not get a majority vote of the Board of Trustees to support that. Again, a lot of discussion. It was amazing. It was a great opportunity for everyone in the room to see how democracy works. It wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, they did agree, the majority, on a 14% increase.
but if we were willing to go to 15, would you accept it?
This board would not have.
If I may, in the case of President Bradshaw here as vice chair and interim chairman, it was quite a struggle, quite a surprise, because the reason split, I think everyone wanted to go to 15, but it was a principle with some of them that they felt that we've got to do this on our own. This should be a combined effort of seeing the need of where we are. And it was a principle. And there could have been a lot of things said, but we kept our class and kept our professionalism. And so the minute that we took that off the floor and did a 14%, boom.
Well, it just worries me where your reserves are so close to being at
Yes, sir.
minimums that looks to me like you need a little bit more. But
Yes, sir. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That was
sir.
part of our presentation. I'm sure it won't surprise you that, and Governor Perez has stated before, that there are a couple institutions that are dangerously close to the statutory requirement. We are one of them. But, Governors, I think I respect what the Board of Trustees agreed upon or voted upon, the majority, and that's what we're bringing forward. And if this is approved, I assure you we can make this work. We will make it work.
Well, I had a couple other questions,
Okay,
but
go
he's
ahead.
answered most of them, so I'm...
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, just a quick question. A lot of the presentations have kind of cited, the organizations have cited that the student government or the students requested, for example, the increase in the capital fee. What does that mean in the case of your university? Is it the student leaderships, or did they hold a vote? And if so, what percentage of the students actually vote on or request that?
I'll answer that very briefly, and I'll turn it over to Trustee Cutterman, who is the president of Student Government Association.
I can't hear you, Dr. Bradshaw.
Frankly, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just make a brief answer to that, and I'll ask Trustee Cutterman, Peter Cutterman, who's also the president of Student Government Association, speak to that. We actually had students, even the president of the Senate, speak to the Board of Trustees in support of the 15% increase yesterday. When we look at tuition and fees, we have committees. Many of them, the majority of the membership is students. So, no, we don't poll all of the students on each issue, but we have elected representatives of the student body who weigh in on these proposals. Consider them, and we'll recommend what those fees should be. Trustee Cutterman?
Sure.
Cutterman. I'm the student body president at Florida Gulf Coast University. I also serve as a member on the Board of Trustees. It's an honor to be up here and be able to speak in front of all of you. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for being here. In terms of, and again, it's a question that would be for any of the universities, but wanted to know what it meant in your case when the president says that the students have requested, it's something that the students requested an increase in your case, it was the capital cost fee or other fee or tuition increases, but for that matter, is that a vote? What percentage of students actually requested that, or is it just student leadership indicating what they think the students would say?
Yeah, we had an opportunity to talk to a lot of students and ask what their opinion is. We did that through various media outlets, mainly with the newspaper and social media. But the consensus was definitely that students were in favor of an increase in the Capital Improvement Trust Fund due to the fact that we do have lacking facilities for recreation. The recreation center that we currently have is more of one that you would give to all the sports teams. And as you go to those facilities throughout the year, you see increasing numbers of people that are in there, and it's difficult for every student to be able to use these facilities. So I definitely know on the CITF that was the reasoning behind that, and the leadership's decision that we wanted to support that. Of course, there was students on that committee as well that brought that forward. And as far as tuition goes, that was more of a tough decision, as you see that you guys question why it went down to 14%. But at the end of the day, it's something that our university needs. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to run and function properly.
John?
Yes.
When we look at the numbers for the whole system, we see that your graduation rates kind of across the board are next to last out of the 11 schools. As may be easily predicted if you go back and look at the SAT scores, which are next to last out of 11 schools. And so then I look and see a projection of about 40% growth in undergraduates over the next 3 years, and I wonder whether perhaps a better strategy to improve graduation rates might not be, rather than to grow, and of course these aren't growing with students who perform better than the ones you are admitting now, but rather perhaps to cut back on that growth and maybe focus more of that energy on trying to improve graduation rates. I think it's hard to do that when you're increasing admissions, and when you increase admissions, you aren't increasing more students at the top, increasing more students who would not have made it into the last year's class. So that kind of growth, to me, is a challenge when you're having troubles with that kind of graduation rates and getting students who are academically as qualified as you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Let me address that. Let me mention some of the dynamics that contribute to that. Historically, because we are so young, we had many students who would transfer, who came to FGCU for a couple of years, knowing we didn't have the programs, and they would leave. If you look at the graduation rates of students who ultimately graduate from one of the SUS institutions, you can see if they started at FGCU, their graduation rates are they're right on the national average. So I think we are still experiencing the effects of some of the vestige dynamics that existed for new institution. You did see some of the restructuring that we were doing in academic affairs. What we did not show that we did deliberately, intentionally, to enhance the academic success of our students from retention through graduation is that we now have a division of undergraduate studies, and we now have a dean to head that division. This will be the first academic year that we've had leadership for undergraduate studies, and the provost and others at the university felt strongly that we needed to take a look at academic support services that we have in place now and not realizing the synergies that we could to enhance student success, and also to determine what other programs that we may need to develop that would enhance student success. I think one example that we've been successful with last year, we were one of only 21 schools nationwide that received a student support services grant of about $1 million to enhance the success of underrepresented students in the STEM disciplines. And we have seen that work very well. In fact, we have about an 80% retention rate of those students. So we're going to take lessons learned. We're going to look at programs we have in place, and we are going to bring those things together to enhance student success. But I also should point out quickly that the slope of that curve is pretty steep as we have gone over the last 3 or 4 years. So we are going in the right direction, and we're being proactive in developing programs and divisions that will enhance student success.
President Bradshaw.
Yes, sir.
We have not asked you about your licensing or professional exams, have we? I don't believe we have.
No.
I show you've got 1 above and 2 below. Do you know what the 2 below are?
Yeah, and keep in mind that those are snapshots in time. The 2 below were occupational therapy and I think physical therapy. And you know, when we look at those as their accrediting bodies do, they tend to look more at cumulative pass rates. And that sometimes you get aberrations in single-year reporting that has to do with changes to the examinations. And
what was it last year? What were you?
To be frank,
for which program?
Actually, the
How many
nursing,
above, how many below?
Actually, we had, I think it was nursing and physical therapy were below, and occupational therapy was above.
Well, I guess my only point is our system goal is to be above average nationally, and so I hope you've got a plan in place.
Absolutely. You know, we just opened a new health professions building, and that was an extremely important adjunct to those particular programs. They have state-of-the-art facilities now, and a lot of work has been done on going back to the curriculum and working on test preparation with students so that they can pass those exams more easily. So, and especially in the physical therapy program, which is a doctoral program now, that added an additional 30 credit hours or more to the program. The students are performing much better now on that licensing exam.
Okay, good. And then I also...
Governor Rood, just a couple seconds on that. We have been intentional on the faculty that we hire, but also we have a facility now that provides instructional technology that we did not have until January of this year, and it is one of the most technologically advanced health professions teaching facility that you'll find anywhere. Okay. And we think that's going to have just a positive impact on our performance on the licensure exam.
I'm looking forward to seeing great numbers next year. On monitoring students that leave your university and finish the last 2 years at another university, I would hope we could work with staff to find a way to get a concrete number on that. You've got the same issue as UNF does, and you're it'd be nice to be able to track that. So that's something that we can hopefully look at. And with that,
Mr. Chairman, since President Bradshaw answered my question before I asked it, I'm just going to go ahead and get to the motion, which is with the exception of the 2012-2013 tuition differential and capital improvement trust fund increase request, which will be dealt with at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting tomorrow morning. I move that we approve that portion of the Florida Gulf Coast University work plan associated with the 2012-2013 academic year.
Well done. We have a motion.
Second.
2 seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Governors, thank you for your time. As always, we'd like to leave this body with our favorite 2 words: go Eagles.
Thank you, President Bradshaw. A reminder, 8:30 tomorrow, we will be back here. There's a reception at the mortgage, something like that, Reading Center following this meeting. I'm assuming we have maps. And thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.